not very into poetry, but I found one that I really thought could sum up love the best that I've seen. And there's a lot of amazing poets out there, but none better than, I think, Leon Phelps, the ladies' man. Not everybody in this room knows who Leon Phelps, the ladies' man is, but everybody in my generation certainly knows who he is, and he sums up love this way. What is love? What is this longing in our hearts for togetherness? Is it not the sweetest flower? Does not this flower of love have the fragrant aroma of fine, fine diamonds? Does not the wind love the dirt? Is not love not unlike the unlikely not it is unlikened to? Are you with someone tonight? Do not question your love. Take your lover by the hand. Release the power within yourself. You heard me, release the power. Tame the wild cosmos with a whisper. Conquer heaven with one intimate caress. That's right, don't be shy. Whip out everything and have a great night.
Amen.
Writing a speech about Chris is incredibly difficult. I can tell Mike had a really hard time. I had a little bit harder time than him, maybe. And after writing mine and thinking about it for a couple of days and going over it a few times, and then hearing everything that Lucas said today about the violin, I wanted to throw my speech into the Unity candle. Because that was amazing. We all heard a bunch of amazing things about Chris yesterday. We were at the rehearsal dinner, and his mom and his dad got up, and his sister got up and said incredible things about him. If you were on a fly on the wall, you would think, wow, Chris is just like Abraham Lincoln. He's amazing. I wonder if in 10 years they'll make a movie about him, and Daniel Day-Lewis will be the lead. Well, we know a different Chris. We know a great Chris, but we know a lot of other special things. Male friendships are different than female friendships, and they start the same. You're nice, and you build bonds, and you do activities, and you have the same social network, and eventually you start to transition, and you start to be less nice, and you start to be a little bit mean, and then you're a little cruel, and the reason as men we do this is because it's funny. We think cruelty is really funny, especially when it's with our friends, and it becomes a game. And Chris knows very well that our friends are really good at that game. The only person that's not good at that game is Chris. That's one unique thing about Chris. He's terrible at this game. And the high school buddies, I think, we can take credit in saying that we were the first to be good at this game, and we used and infused Chris a little bit. But it's amazing that every friend group he's had since then, at Michigan and in residency, the ones that we weren't a part of, they knew that game too, and Chris was similarly bad at it there. It's like, how is Chris always the target? I'm not sure. It was frustrating. So, the other unique thing about Chris is that he provides us with so much ammunition. So much, right? You know. Let me just go through some bullet points of the ammunition Chris gives us. So, he was relating to me that he lives in New York, and he's never been to a Knicks game, he's never been to a Jets game, he's never been to a Giants game, he's been to 2 Yankees games in 6 years, which probably not too good. He could have been to more. But he's been to 24 Broadway musicals. Chris, when he was in 5th grade, could have chosen any musical instrument in the world. But he chose the one that puts wood in his mouth. You can be a man and play clarinet, that's fine. At least it wasn't flute. That would be worse. Chris did exercise at University of Michigan. He was very into exercise, but the exercise that he chose was Irish river dancing. It is a female-dominated sport. And Chris is great at it. You're great. You can see it on YouTube. Just look at it. Chris has a congenital facial weakness. It's called the 7th cranial nerve palsy. It's his middle name, I guess. I guess he changed it legally. And just to review, we are mean-spirited, and we make fun of it. Chris did very well in med school. He got 2 degrees. He could have done any job in the world, any kind of position he wanted to be. And there's a lot of variety out there. And what did he choose to do? Chris chose to become a doctor of the penis. Chris is an academician. He wanted to further his training. He wanted to do a fellowship. He not only wanted to be a doctor of the penis, but he also matriculated to do a fellowship to be a doctor of the sperm. Thank you, Chris. We might need you someday. All the men applaud you. So, these are all characters of Chris, and we love Chris. It's one of a couple of nice things I'll say, not too many. But Chris is really passionate about the things that he loves, and he continues to do them even though we give him hell. So, that's great. Kudos to you, buddy. So, Chris, you really inspire people in your life, okay? So you can look around this room and you can see people from elementary school that knew Chris, from middle school and high school, and you can go all the way to residency, and there's people in this room that truly love you. You treat your friends like family. Even though you have an insane schedule that's 120 hours a week, or 100 hours a week, whatever it's been a lot. If I text you at 10 in the morning and say, I had a crappy day, I'd like to talk about it, you're like, hey, how does 10:30 p.m. sound? I'm like, okay, you're going to schedule me in. And you do that with all your friends. I know I'm not unique in that regard, and I know you do it for Amanda as well. I think that's because you're an excellent family man, and that's because the Deibert family, I think, trained you. You come from a long line of excellent families, and you treat your friends that way as well. It's inspirational to see how you interact with your family, because you fly all over the country, sometimes all over the world to see them. You Skype with Michael, wake up early and stay up late to do that. You're obviously flying to weddings, but you also try to see your extended family as much as you can. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Chris actually taught Michael how to read when they were very young, which is a story that kind of inspired me. Another more recent inspirational story was Heather and Heidi both had 2 beautiful baby boys recently. That's excellent. Chris actually offered to circumcise both of them. That's a fact. He's a true family man. So Chris started out rough. He was a baby and he needed surgery. He had what Michael brought up as a tracheoesophageal fistula. It's a connection between the trachea, which is your breathing tube, the esophagus, your food tube, and he needed multiple surgeries. The way I remember it, which I didn't really validate with your family, but I think it's what you told me, is that you guys were in Japan, correct? And you needed these surgeries, or you'd die, correct? And so they were raising money from other family members to help keep you alive. This gift from God that they were given that needed surgery in order to survive their first baby boy, and the whole family came together to give it to him. Pretty amazing. And thank God it happened, because the people in this room have been touched by you over the last 30 plus years, and we can thank all that life-saving surgery and your family for bringing you here to us. And Chris has come a long way even recently. He went to medical school and got 2 degrees. He graduated from residency. He is going to a highly coveted fellowship that actually did not match anybody because they didn't want anybody. They said, it's not worth it this year, we didn't find any candidates we liked. But then they met Chris, and they said he's a match, so that's excellent. And then the greatest accomplishment of Chris's life was today when he married Amanda. Not bad for a guy with half an esophagus. And Chris, me and the guys always knew that you would marry a man. Duh. Yeah, I'm almost done. Sorry. I gotta talk about Amanda a little bit. She's wonderful. So Chris and Amanda met, and Chris has dated other girls, and the way I knew that Amanda was something special was that Chris, when he talked about her, he was really at ease. Chris is really calmed by Amanda, and it's so easy for him to talk about her, and she helps take his somewhat rigid nature and really compliments him with her softness and her grace. Chris talks about her with an excitement that I've never heard him relate with any other part of his life. I'm not a very religious person, but I know that their love has a foundation in God and religion, and that really helps them bring them together and is, of course, going to keep them strong through all the tough times. For the last 30 years, Chris, you've been in our life, and you've been an amazing friend, you've been an amazing family member. I know that I can speak for everybody in this room when I say that we look forward to the next 30 years with you, but also with Amanda, together and beyond. And I'd just like to toast to you one more time. I love you guys.